watching the mystical green beanie.
Hey, what's going on, dudes and dudettes? I am the mystical green beanie. Now, first things first, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Common Interest. He's a really good friend of mine. He does all the music for my videos, and he actually did the new intro to my videos, which will either be in this video or the next. Anyways, here are a list of my top 10 favorite DC and Marvel comic book runs. Now, this is in no particular order. I love all of these runs equally, so without further hesitation, let's get into it. Coming in at number 10 is Jerry Conway's run on The Amazing Spider-Man. This is probably one of the best runs on Spider-Man ever. It's really fun, but it's also surprisingly dark. Also, so much of Peter Parker's history and his characterization dates back to this run. So if you are a Spider-Man fan at all, or if you're looking to get into the character of Peter Parker more, you should definitely give this run a read. And coming in at number 9 is Joss Whedon's run on The Astonishing X-Men. In my opinion, this is the last great X-Men run. I mean, I can't really say much other than that, because it really highlights everything that I love about the X-Men. It's a superhero soap opera that shows the X-Men dealing with personal problems and aliens, and it's a social commentary on bigotry and hypocrisy and racism and classism and all the other isms. It's great. You should definitely pick it up. That's really all I want to say about that. And moving on to number 8 is John Byrne's run on Superman. John Byrne, in my opinion, is one of the greatest Superman writers of all time. Byrne really gets the character of Clark Kent, and I feel like that's really important when you're writing Superman. Because sometimes I feel like some writers focus more on the world around Superman as opposed to Superman's reaction to the world around him. And I feel like Byrne did a really good job of writing Clark Kent as a character, and in doing so, writing one of the greatest runs on the character of all time. Then we get to number 7, which is Brian Bendis' run on Ultimate Spider-Man, which is technically still going. I just wanted to bring it up because I've literally been reading this comic since I was 8 years old. Like, I've read every issue consistently since I was 8. And there have been times here and there where I've thought, this issue's a bit slow, but if that's my biggest gripe with the book, then Bendis is doing a damn fine job. Number 6 is Jeff Lemire's run on Green Arrow. So, when it comes to my personal headcanon, the New 52 Green Arrow starts here. Jeff Lemire tells a really amazing story about Oliver Queen and his father, and how his father had a huge secret, and the comic also introduces his stepsister Emiko, who's basically Damian Wayne, but like 1,000 times less annoying and actually fun to read. And while Lemire's run isn't as politically or socially charged as more classic Green Arrow stories, this is still a damn good story that almost has like an old style western feel to it, mixed in with some old school samurai storytelling. And he crafted one of the greatest Green Arrow stories of all time, in my opinion, and one that was unfortunately cut short because the writers of Arrow wanted to write the book, and that was awful. Number 5, Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four. Now, I won't lie, I'm not a huge Fantastic Four fan. I love them and I respect them as the first family of Marvel and as one of the first major comic book superhero teams. And in fact, I think I respect them more so than Marvel does at this particular point in time. But regardless, Hickman's run on the Fantastic Four is absolutely breathtaking. In fact, I think it's one of the best runs on any comic that Marvel has ever had. It's an epic story that's sometimes a little confusing here and there, but if you stick with it, everything will make sense, and I guarantee you, it will blow your mind. And if it doesn't, well then there's just something horribly wrong with you. Then we get to number 4, which is Sean Ryan's new Suicide Squad. Now, I'm not all that familiar with John Ostrander's run on the Suicide Squad from the 80s and 90s, but I am familiar with the Suicide Squad in a more modern context. And as of right now, Sean Ryan's run has just ended, and it's fantastic. It's a really good read, and it's basically about the government trying to shut down Task Force X. And that's all really cool, but The important thing is that this run makes me care about characters that I never really cared about beforehand, like Daniel Westerver's Flash and Black Manta, and it also gives me a better understanding on Harley Quinn's mental state, and I thought that all that stuff was really great, and you should definitely pick this up. And coming in at number 3 is Dennis O'Neil's run on Batman. So I have a very particular appreciation for this run on the character, mainly because it gave Batman his balls back, because in the 50s and 60s there was this organization called the Comics Code Authority that forced the comic book industry to censor itself. And Batman was a comic that was really hit hard because of this, and for a while Batman fought aliens and traveled to alternate dimensions and shit like that, and it was really campy, but in a bad way. And in the 70s, Dennis O'Neil brought Batman back to his roots, and he reinvented a lot of characters, and he brought the world of Batman back to being what it originally was intended to be. A dark and gritty story about this obsessive, twisted, sometimes morally ambiguous detective who lives in this godforsaken cesspit called Gotham City. Number 2 is Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman. I have already reviewed this, and pretty much every chance I get to talk about it, I praise it for how great I think it is. So, I think I've said all I need to say about this run. And finally, coming in at number 1 is Geoff Johns' run on The Flash. So, if you're new to this channel, I love Wally West. He's one of, if not my favorite DC characters of all time, and if you want to know why, you should read this run. Much like Hickman's Fantastic Four, this is possibly one of, if not the best runs on a title the publishing company has ever published. It's an epic story that, in my opinion, cements Wally West as the definitive Flash, and honestly, is kind of the reason why I resist Flash Rebirth so much. Because as much as I love that story and think that it's an amazing Barry Allen story, and an amazing tribute to the legacy of the Flash, it also flies in the face of Geoff Johns' run on Wally West, while also being a huge compliment to it. I know that might not make a lot of sense, but my point is, Geoff Johns' run on Wally West Flash is brilliant, and you should definitely give it a shot. But yeah guys, those are my top 10 favorite Marvel and DC runs. Granted, these aren't the end-all be-all. There are certainly other comic book runs out there that I love just as much as these, but for the sake of this video, I had to narrow it down to 10. And these are the 10 that I chose. But what about you? Let me know down below in the comment section what your top 10 favorite Marvel and DC comic book runs are. And if you like this video, hit the like button, share, support the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, all you have to do is subscribe. I am the Mystical Green Beanie. Thanks for watching, and as always, until next time, adios nachos, adios.